Howdy, it's your Commodore here, Ty Coles, for another Star Trek Discovery review. This one will be Season 2, Episode 7, Light and Shadows. We start off with a log entry by, of course, Michael Burnham, where she says, mysteries are in 3. And she gives an example of birth, life, and death, and past, present, and future, where they link in the Red Angel, which is from the future, thanks to Saru's eyes. And they clearly saw it was someone from the future technology. We then go to in Discovery, where we finally get some very nice shots of Discovery for once. And I'm just curious, Chucky Arts, can you help me out? What is that little thing poking out of this deflector dish? If you can let me know, description below, that'd be great. Or in the comments below. But we see Burnham and Pike talking. Burnham's asking for some leave to go to Vulcan so she can get hold of her parents because she believes her mother knows where Spock is.
The Federation task force, if he had any information, would know.
If he did, yes, we would. My mother, on the other hand, she hasn't always seen eye to eye with him when it comes to Spock.
And she notifies Pike that Spock knew about these red bursts 2 months before they actually started appearing.
He had drawn the 7 symbols 2 months before they appeared.
So, of course, Pike lets Burnham go to Vulcan. He decides to keep the ship at Saru's homeworld to explore, see if they can find any traces of what's been happening.
The signal that appeared with the Angel will find traces of residual decay that Starfleet's tasked us with analyzing. Hopefully it'll tell us when and where in the future it came from.
So we go to Vulcan. Looks technologically advanced, like Vulcan should, but of course they double down on the greenery. Again, people, Vulcan, desert planet. Why do you think a lot of their wardrobes and stuff are like desert-like apparel? Or a lot of browns and stuff. So, of course, but this is one weird thing I've been seeing that I saw. I'll mention it a couple times. But Amanda doesn't seem like the Amanda we know from the original series to Next Generation to even the JJ verse. Because we're seeing her not agree with Sarek, which is very weird because she always cared about her husband in all the other iterations of her, but this one is not. So I'm kind of calling BS on that because like she gets upset with Spock not wanting to take care of his father. That he backstabs him when it comes to some dispute in the Next Generation. So it's like but this time she's taking Spock's sides over Sarek's, whereas usually she's taking Sarah's side over Spock's. So we then jump back to Discovery. We do a lot of this jumping back and forth, which gets kind of confusing at some points, but that's the trope of Discovery. They have to do like 3-4 different storylines at once, which honestly, either one of these storylines could have been an entire episode on its own. If they wanted to do this, it should have been an easily 2-part episode, so we can at least not be rushed through the storylines. So we go back on Discovery, get some nice ensemble bits with Pike and the other officers. Finally getting to know them a bit more, and realize that they are competent people. But of course, we get another Tilly interruption. Talking about the temporal stuff, and we get to see some crazy temporal loop action on Discovery.
What am I looking at? Space time, Captain. Full reverse.
Which I really liked. I thought was kind of interesting. But we also see some tensions build between Pike and Ash Volk, or Tyler, whatever you want to call him. And that's kind of getting to an interesting level. Like, they don't trust each other, but they have to work together, so they got that kind of dynamic, which is very entertaining, I feel. And if it was given more time than just the minute or two on between them and Burnham, I think it would work, really develop well. Then we go back to Vulcan. We get to see inside the house. It looks like they finally got some more stuff since Burnham was a little kid, which is good to see. And we get this weird flashback from Burnham and Spock trying to explain their relationship. Don't quite get it. Don't want to get it.
You were amused by your hair.
Yeah.
That is illogical.
But we learn another skill that the Vulcans have, and that's called Tok'mar.
When your father heard that your brother disappeared, he's been practicing Commodore every day. I've never seen Commodore perform before. AJ Bones believed he could bring lost souls back home.
And that's the ability to use the Vulcan's mental telepathic power to find someone, which was, I felt, does belong in the Star Trek universe, because we all hear about all this mental strength and all this logic, and that we do know Vulcans have some telepathic powers. So adding this to it actually cements what Vulcans are. So I'm really appreciative of that type of skill being introduced. Again, we still have Amanda not acting like Amanda, and now she's lying about where Spock is, and she knows where Spock, and now she's like, so it's like kind of weird. Her, like, a woman that we know was very honorable and truth and caring, now not so much. Like, she was loyal to her husband. She put everything ahead to help her husband, and she was never opposed to Spock wanting to be Vulcan in any iteration. Why is it a big problem now? Then again, we hop back to Discovery, where we get another cringe-worthy line by Tilly. The time bends.
Diver rising to the surface. Don't want to get the time bend, sir.
Time bends. Like that.
Oh, everything sounds cool already. Put time in front of it.
Because Captain Pike, because they tried to launch a probe into it, but it's not working. or it's affecting them too much to get close enough to launch a probe. So Pike decides to take a shuttle there to launch the probe. And Tilly says, "Don't worry about the time bends." And it's like, everything sounds better when you add time to it in front of it. I'm like, oh, no. And they were doing so well. So we are in the shuttle. We see another vision, probably a future vision, where Pike's firing something at Ash, Tyler, Volk, whatever. You get a bit more tension between them as they're going to the shuttle bay. When they're in the shuttle, we see that vision. It's really cool. And they launch the probe, but then they get trapped in themselves into the time rift. So the mood on Discovery changes, and everyone's trying to work together to get them out instead of just one person, "I got it," or like Burnham just being, "Okay, this is what you do and we're done." No, they each have their own little thing. So I'm really appreciative of that. But it doesn't last long, though. But they do say, "Hey, Stamets is the man to do it. He has the tardigrade DNA on him. They can go around time like it's nothing." Hop back to Vulcan. First shot of Spock we see, and he is not so...
Spock is
He's repeating things over and over again. I think it's the first principle of logic, and also this random number set. Hop back to Discovery, where we're in the shuttle with Pike and Tyler. We get some great chemistry with them. We get to learn a little more about each other, like how Pike's maybe trying to compensate for missing the war, and he's trying to tell Tyler the war's over, we can move on. Like, I know it was tough on you, but we got to learn to trust each other. So there's a little back and forth between the two. Hopping back to Vulcan. Sarah finds them because Amanda's trying to use her own diplomatic powers because she's the wife of an ambassador. I don't know how that works. But Sarah is working with Section 31. Again, this is getting ridiculous with Section 31. Why are they so well known in this series, whereas everything else, including Enterprise, which was done before this? So Section 1 was unknown prior to this. Very well known in Discovery, then becomes unknown again. Like, it would have been better if we never even mentioned Section 31 or kept it the way it was, like unknown, like instead of revealing it as it did. So Sarah convinced Burnham to take Spock to Section 31 and to Captain Leland because I guess Leland's willing to help Spock because I guess Sarah talked to him and trusts him.
The sole reason they must be after Spock is because his mind contains answers the Federation desperately needs. And outside of this room, no one is more motivated to heal Spock than Section 31.
And we learn during that time that he suffers from Vulcan dyslexia.
I'm not saying I think you should call the doctor eyes, John.
I've heard the term. It's a spatial and order dysphagia. Much like dyslexia. Pretty common on Earth. Not so much in Vulcan.
Really? oh, this is like it's not going well. Like I'm loving what stuff's happening around the Discovery. I'm not so much with the Spock Burnham family feud. Family it belongs on Jerry Springer, not on Star Trek. Um, so we hop back to Discovery, and the probe they launched comes back with some modifications, and it starts attacking the shuttle and tries to take it over. We find out that the probe has aged 500 years.
Has aged 500 years.
So it's 500 years from the future, and it has all these tentacles like Dr. Octopus trying to take over the shuttle. Then we go back to Burnham. She makes rendezvous with the Captain Leland on his Section 31 ship. And they have a little back and forth. Again, we hear about Admiral Cornwell.
Receive permission from Admiral Cornwell to extend your leave.
Like, honestly, is she the only Admiral in Starfleet? Because that's the only Admiral we ever hear about. In all of Starfleet, do we not have another Admiral that does stuff? And this is when Burnham light bulb goes off, and she figures it out that what the numbers Spock's saying are in reverse. It's
Seven, 749, 148. Numbers are backwards. Numbers are backwards.
it's a mirror image of them. It's like red rum. So we go back to the shuttle. Stamets figures it out, but thanks to the readings that the one other guy from Discovery got, and also the impulse bursts that Pike laid out for him to track the shuttle. And he was able to calculate, beam over there, and bring him out of the time fissure. All this while the probe is still trying to take over the shuttle, and also download the data core from it. Pike sets the shuttle to self-destruct, and just around that time, we see the android-looking commander on Discovery. It looks like she's been taken over by whatever was contained in that probe.
Commander area.
But I don't care. I'm sorry. They are trying to introduce some of these other characters, but she was not one of them. So that scene could have been a lot more stronger for people if we got to know her a bit better than just the like a prop in the like an extra in the background. Like instead of concentrating on Michael Burnham for a season and a half or plus as the end all be all, and focus on the rest of the crew, we might have more connection with the rest of the crew. So when something like this happens, it would have had a bigger impact. Then we go back to the Section 31 ship. Giorgio is starting to want to help Spock, so she stages a fight with Burnham.
So, trying to make it look good. Not that. Muzzle. With you.
And Burnham and Spock escape. This was all a master plan of Giorgio to try to take over Section 31, and that she reveals that Captain Leland was the one who helped kill Burnham's parents. In what role, we don't know. Hop back to Discovery. Pike's back on. Flops. He's like, I'm thank God I'm back in my chair. Again, we get another stupid time where time tsunami, and they just escape. Just as that happens,
With the time tsunami, that one's not as cool as it sounds.
Denmark, next one more. Guess out here.
I sir.
but then you're left with what happened to the homeworld of Saru. What happened to the Kelpians? What happened to the Brew? Did they all get destroyed by the time tsunami, or did they revert back to the pre-evolved? What happened? That's something that they gave us a question to and didn't bother answering. So we go back to Burnham. She's escaping the Section 31. And we learned that Section 31 doesn't just have one ship. It's a fleet of ships. And they all look the same. Okay, and she inserts the number that Spock's been reciting over and over and over again into the computer. And we find out it's the coordinates to Talos 4. Really, Talos 4, man? This is completely unreal. What about General Order 4? Does it mean death to Burnham? Because we all know that Pike and Spock went to Talos 4 13 years before Kirk.
This is 13 years ago. The Enterprise. And its commander, Captain Christopher Pike.
This happens 10 years before Kirk. And if you think Season 1 was episode year 1, this means it's year 2. So that means it's 9 years before Kirk. So this happened about 4 years prior to that. So General Order 4 should be in effect, which means Burnham should be put to death. And she flies to Talos 4 with no hesitation. I hope they bring up General Order 4 in the next episode because it needs some explaining to do. And it looks like now they're really trying to rewrite this series. And like, they're giving us so many things that they could correct this series and fix the timeline with. Like, they could have fixed it with the Spore Drive because we all know it could travel through time and space. The Red Angel, we all know it goes through time. And it could bring in time travel. Talos 4, with their illusions of reality. They're masters of illusion and manipulation. And it was funny. Just before this episode appeared, there was this thing going around on YouTube where it shows that Discovery is just what the Thulosians are using to punish Pike.
You overlook the unpleasant alternative of punishment.
So Jeffrey Hunter's Pike is still in the cage, and this is an illusion for him to punish him. That would be a great way to end Discovery. It's all just an illusion to punish Pike for not agreeing or stay with them. So that was the quickest review I could do of this episode. Like I say, it was just way too much happening, way too quickly. Each element should have its own episode, so we got to get to know Spock a bit better, so we could build up the relationships with the crew a bit better, see and figure out this time distortion thing. But instead of they were two separate episodes pressed into one, so it was a lot to digest. Overall, I loved what was happening on the ship. That was very close to what Trek was, right? The tech, the tech talk, and the timey-wimey and all that stuff. But then you had the Burnham stuff with Spock that just didn't go well. We're kind of over their character, Spock's character, over Sarek's character. And like I said earlier, it belonged on Jerry Springer, not on Star Trek. Or maybe even Murray. But what can you do? This is what Star Trek has become now. Moments of goodness surrounded by crap. Overall, this is one of my more enjoyable episodes. So far, with last episode and this episode, the newer staff is somewhat doing a bit better job at trying to make it feel like a bit more Trek than what it was in the last season and a half. So, I don't want to put up too many high hopes though for the next episode because we all know that Discovery is known for letting the fans down. But overall, one of the better episodes. So far this season, we've had, dare I say, we had at least 2 shit episodes. 2 decent episodes and 2 reasonably good episodes in Discovery scale. Not Star Trek scale, Discovery. So, for your Commodore, Ty Coles, live long and prosper, people. The hailing frequencies are now closed.
Thank you for watching the video from Commodore Ty. If you'd like to see more, please hit the like button, share, subscribe to the channel, and why not, when you're here, check out one of my other mini videos I've done. Live long and prosper. Hailing frequencies closed.